And so now I'm going to ask the first team, Entegas Profitable New Customer Acquisition on Online Price Comparison Sites, to come on up here and provide their presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good morning, everybody. It's a great pleasure for me to present our work on ECO, Entegas Profitable New Customer Acquisition on Online Price Comparison Sites. My name is Jürgen Kim. I'm from the Goethe University in Frankfurt, just like my co-author Martin Natter, and Anna Maria Arzimetz is head of the project at Entega. Okay, so let me first start with an overview of the market situation in Germany. In 1998, the energy market in Germany was the subject of a very drastic change. State-regulated monopolies were abolished, and instead, this market liberalization permitted all customers to freely choose their energy providers. This led to an increase from prior state-regulated monopolies to an excessive number of 1,150 energy providers in 2013. So on average, a consumer can now choose between 135 providers, and before 1998, there was only one per consumer. So driven by the large price differences in the market, and since electricity is a very homogeneous product, we can also observe a very high churn rate. In 2011, 3.58 million households switched their providers, 27% more than in 2010. And A.T. Kearney predicts that in 2016, approximately 12 million households will switch their contracts, which is 30% of the total market. What we can also see here is that churn rates are even highest in Germany compared to other European countries. Okay, so now that we know that consumers terminate their contracts, where do they close new contracts? This figure shows here that most tariff switches happen online. 50% of the customers currently purchase their electricity contracts online, and most of them at price comparison sites. Further, 80% of the customers use the price comparison sites to gather new information. This indicates the importance of the price comparison sites in our energy context. Okay, so how does it work to close a new contract on a price comparison site? Visiting such a site, the customer is asked to enter the region, the zip code, and the estimated usage level of the household. Then, the price comparison site ranks all the providers according to their total prices and savings relative to the current provider. So on the first rank, we find the cheapest provider relative to the current one. Included in the price is also a one-time bonus, which is a price reduction that is offered to new customers for their first contractual year. This bonus is flexible and enables the providers to vary the prices and at the end to become more or less attractive to the consumers. So this one-time bonus is a very critical instrument for new customer acquisition. After selecting one of the providers, the consumer can directly fill in the forms and close the contract online. For such a homogeneous product as electricity, we would expect extreme price competition with very low price differences. Instead, we observe significant price dispersion at price comparison sites. In addition to price differences at the same point of time, prices also vary from one year to the next. So, for example, here, the provider at rank 1 offers a price of 690 euros for a year in 2013, whereas the provider at rank 10 already offers a price which is 10% higher. And in the previous year, the lowest total price was even below 550 euros. So this price dispersion makes it very difficult for the managers to follow a learning by experimenting approach and to translate the prices into sales. And in fact, the energy providers do not appear to have an elaborate or consistent strategy for how to determine the prices and the bonuses. Some link the bonus to the estimated usage level of the consumers, and some others just choose fixed bonuses. Anyway, there are a few providers who pursue to achieve top ranks and to lure customers with very low prices. And consistent with the theory, we can also see in our data that the top 2 ranks account for 69% of all the sales in 2012. However, top ranks are typically associated with very negative profit margins, prohibiting most companies from targeting them. Otherwise, things may go very badly, as with the companies Flexstrom and Helderfax. Both companies used to lure customers with very low prices, resulting in top ranks. This way, they gathered up to 835,000 new customers and Helderfax up to 700,000 new customers. However, their strategy proved to be very unsuccessful. Both companies went bankrupt, leaving their customers with outstanding debts. So, energy providers often face a trade-off between choosing a rank that yields to a high number of customers and a profitable rank. So let me now introduce our cooperation partner, Entegas. Entegas is the sales company of one of Germany's largest energy suppliers, HSE. HSE has about 2,600 employees, and the company generated revenues of 2 billion euros in 2012. With more than 1 million customers, Entegas is currently the second largest green electricity provider in Germany. Now I will hand over to René Sturm, the CEO of Entegas, who will present the challenges and the aim of our project.
My name is René Sturm. I started this project when I was Entegas Chief Sales Officer. In 2012, I became Entegas CEO, and most recently I became responsible for new business development at Entegas holding company, HSE. I truly appreciate the opportunity to participate in Gary Lillian's Practice Prize final by sending this video message. Now let me start with the challenges that we faced when we started this project. Our cooperation with Goethe University Frankfurt started about 2 years ago. At that time, the household electricity market was getting more and more complicated. Especially due to fierce competition, cost dynamics and price dispersion that even vary from region to region, it was difficult to set prices. There are approximately 8,200 different regions in Germany and several kilowatt per hour usage groups. Therefore, we must manage more than 10 million ranks, providers and price combinations for decisions about new prices. It's hardly surprising that we sometimes lost track when analyzing the data. That is why most providers employ simple heuristics such as targeting a certain rank for an average usage group. This approach, however, resulted in negative margins in many cases. So our challenge was to optimize our bonus system in all regions at the same time and to satisfy profit and sales targets. With our academic partners from Goethe University Frankfurt, we tried to specify a tool with the appropriate business logic. The result was ECO, the electricity contract optimization tool. ECO provides accurate and timely predictions for sale, profits and budget consequences. ECO supports our decisions to set one-time bonuses to reach a certain rank that maximizes the total acquisition profit. ECO also shows how to optimally reach sales targets. Sometimes we don't have the budget available to reach the profit max. Then ECO calculates the optimal allocation for the budget.
Good morning. I will now provide an overview about the modeling framework that we implemented in ECO. As key instrument, ECO's profit optimization uses the bonuses that new customers receive at the end of the first year. These bonuses are flexible new customer acquisition tools as they determine the total price of the first year, the savings compared to the previous provider, as well as the rank on the price comparison side. Our model uses this rank on the price comparison side to nicely and accurately predict the market share that the provider can reach. ECO is profit-based, and both components of profit, sales, and lifetime margins of contribution are a function of the chosen bonus levels in each region. The lifetime margin of contribution of a customer consists of three major ingredients. First, the sales costs. They consist of the bonus that goes to the customer, as well as the online commission, which goes to the price comparison side. Second, the retention probability, which is also affected by the bonuses, as customers who buy at higher bonuses are also more likely to churn after the minimum contract duration. And third, the discounted differences between the prices and the variable and fixed costs. The differences in net usage costs are mainly responsible for the varying cost structures across all regions. The composition of electricity costs shows that about 50% of all costs are due to the different taxes, which have been highly dynamic and driving market dynamics in the past few years in Germany. For instance, the renewable energy tax increased from 1 cent in 2009 to more than 6 cents most recently. The second part that factors into the profit calculation are sales. Like most former regional monopolists, Entegas faces a locally concentrated customer base, lacking sales data in most of the 8,200 regions which you can find on this map. Due to this structure, relying on Entegas' internal sales data alone did not seem suitable for developing a regionally differentiated pricing approach that addresses the whole German market. We therefore designed a more general sales model consisting of 3 submodels. In our model, we first break down overall sales volume V to the level of individual regions and usage groups. Regional sales are then linked to the ranks at the price comparison side. More specifically, the first submodel is an aggregate model for total online sales volume V, consisting of 2 parts. The first part captures the increasing trend of sales on price comparison sites, whereas the second part builds on the detrended residuals of the first part and fits an appropriate lag structure to predict future sales. The lags in this model are a way to model the multiple provider switchers who go for the next new bonus as soon as their minimum contract duration is over. The second submodel explains the relative sales potential of a region from the overall sales volume as a function of demographic variables as well as past sales data. Volume of a period times this regional share projects the sales potential, the number of new contracts in a region for a specific usage group and a period. The third submodel determines how these regional sales are shared between the different ranks on the price comparison sides. Sales share in this piecewise nonlinear function strongly decreases with increasing ranks. We tested the holdout sample performance of this model by splitting the available data into an estimation and a validation sample. The estimation sample consisted of 70% of the data, whereas the holdout sample was the remaining 30% of the data. An extremely good holdout sample performance of more than 99% for this model made us confident to proceed with this general market prior without the consideration of further variables such as brand or incorporating the specific sales data of providers. The data for estimating the sales model came from a variety of sources. The first submodel uses sales volume data from external market reports, as well as information about the market shares of the price comparison sites, which we need to project to total volume. We use demographic variables, such as the number of households or the purchase index of a region, as well as location information and past sales data as predictors for the second submodel. Finally, the third submodel, we use transaction data from a nationally operating price comparison site, which we especially bought for the purpose of this project. These data were not available to Entega previously. The basic objective of ECO is to maximize profits of each region independently as a function of the one-time bonuses B. As this figure shows, quite different ranks are required to reach the optimum in different regions. Region A, for instance, has its profit maximum at rank 7, whereas we have the profit maximum for region B at rank 13. The figure at the right-hand side further shows that the bonus of 75 euros is required to reach rank 7 in region A, and only a bonus of 49 euros at the same period of time is necessary to reach rank 13 for region B. The bonuses can be defined flexibly on a grid. They are, however, limited by the price comparison sites to be less than 25% to protect customers from too large shocks once the bonus is gone. For a typical setting with 15 different bonus levels and 26 different usage groups, this only leads to about 3.2 million different combinations that the profit function has to be evaluated for to find the profit maxima for all 8,200 regions. It is feasible to calculate all these combinations and determine the optimum directly, even on a laptop computer. More complicated, however, are the other two frequently appearing scenarios where we optimize profits under the constraint of reaching a certain sales or budget target. Both scenarios imply trade-offs between regions, which means that we end up with an intractable problem space. To handle this trade-off, we applied the following iterative heuristic. We start at the profit optimal solution for each individual region and then calculate the differences in profit for neighboring solutions. The heuristic then searches for the least expensive change in terms of a relative profit loss into the direction of the sales or budget target. As step sizes of the bonuses can vary, we norm the differences in profits by the differences in bonus levels. Now let us talk about the model implementation. We implemented the whole tool in MATLAB with a user-friendly interface that supports the flexible upload of new pricing data and cost data, reflecting the current structure. Changes in taxes and sourcing costs can directly be entered into the tool. Bonus levels and optimization scenarios, such as determining the target sales number or the available budget, can directly be entered in the interface. Important for the menu costs of Entega, we also provide options to directly save the results of each run in the format that is suitable for upload in Entega's internal IT systems or the systems of the price comparison sites. Finally, several graphical outputs can be generated to provide some insights into which Y level was chosen in one or the other region. To gain some confidence into our implementation and the model assumptions, we conducted 2 field studies. However, before I go into more detail with regard to these field studies, let me explain the traditional method of Entega, as this represents the benchmark against which we will test the performance of ECO. ECO's traditional method was to choose an average usage group and to analyze the relationship between the bonus levels and the resulting ranks on the price comparison side. With some sales target or unit margin considerations in mind, they then chose a certain target rank and applied this rank to all regions. This approach, however, has two major drawbacks. First, it ignores the usage group specific heterogeneity. And second, it ignores the regional heterogeneity with respect to competition and cost structure. As these charts show, there is substantial heterogeneity across both of these dimensions. In the beginning, ECO was not only implemented to more efficiently incorporate all the incoming new pricing information into pricing decisions, but also to deal with these two defects of the previous approach. After testing the predictive accuracy of ECO's sales model in the first 8 weeks, we conducted two field experiments. Entega determined their target rank in the spirit of their traditional method, resulting in rank 15 for both experiments. In the first experiment, we tested Entega's rank 15 against ECO's profit optimization. In the second field experiment, we ran two scenarios with ECO. Due to the practical appeal of a single target rank, in the first scenario, we investigated whether ECO could still be of any help if the intention was to target the same rank in all regions, however profit-oriented, and by considering the usage group differences. In the second scenario, we optimize profits under a budget constraint. To allow for a direct comparison, the budget was constrained at the predicted budget of scenario 1. As sales targets and figures in 2012 and 2013 were at the same level of 30,000 new customers, we could also directly compare the sales cost effects between using and not using ECO over an entire year. For analyzing the outcomes of the field experiments, Entega focuses on unit margins and sales costs. Let us have a second look at the lifetime calculation to get the intuition of their approach. As we do not find any differences in discounted future margins and retention probability cannot fully be assessed yet without another model, the focus of Entega is on sales costs. The comparison is further facilitated by the fact that the online commission is not different in both cases. Anna Maria Osimets from Entega will now guide us through the outcomes of these tests. Anna?
Thank you, Martin. I will now present you the outcomes of the experiments we ran to validate ECO's performance. To verify predictive accuracy, we compared sales predicted by ECO with actual sales. The squared correlation was 0.9, which made our top management feel confident with ECO. In the first experiment, the traditional method led to a negative average margin of €15.48 per new customer, where the treatment group optimized by ECO showed a positive margin of €4.33. In other words, this means that a sales cost reduction of about €20 was realized by ECO. The second experiment confirmed the benefit of ECO in comparison to traditional method. A negative average margin of €25.41 was achieved here by the traditional method. In contrast to this, both ECO treatments group, rank 19 and budget constraint, showed a positive average margin of about €1 and a sales cost reduction of about €26 for a new customer. For overall sales costs, ECO achieved a reduction of 35%. This brought a substantial improvement for our new customer business. Besides financial benefit, the implementation of ECO has also a significant impact on organization. René Sturm will shed some light on this aspect now.
Before using ECO, our management didn't have a straightforward strategy to acquire new customers. Instead, the management team either intuitively determined bonuses, or they aimed to reach a specific rank for an average usage group. The main goals of the sales department were oriented on sales, not on profit margins. Sales was very often high at low margins, while other periods very low sales took place. With ECO, our management can now evaluate strategies that maximize profit margins with or without budget constraints. It is also possible to aim at a specific number of new customers. Hence, our management can better assess the consequences of different strategies and improve the efficiency of pricing decisions. As a consequence, ECO leads to sales that are more distributed across a year. Very high or very low bonuses are avoided because of profit and sales consideration. While ECO was initially developed to support the work of the sales department, it was soon clear to me that the tool was especially effective in implementing and coordinating goals. In 2013, ECO helped to exceed Entegas' targeted sales by about 43%. Sales expectations and budget were based on acquisition costs that we faced before using ECO. With ECO, we could reduce our sales cost on average by 36%. These are very important improvements for our company. I think that the main benefit is that with ECO we can analyze all relevant data for new pricing decisions. We now better consider regional differences and optimize bonuses across all usage groups, not just an average one. In times of such a dynamic market situation that we face in Germany, this is a tremendous advantage as compared to the situation before working with ECO. Our initial model specification was much simpler than what you just saw. Over time, together with Goethe University Frankfurt, we developed more and more useful options at ECO. For instance, ECO now provides the opportunity to flexibly enter bonus levels or adapt the data structure to other price comparison sites. This flexibility and adaptation to business requirements makes our partnership and long-term relationship especially appealing. Together with a team of Professor Nutter, we are currently planning to develop a similar decision support systems for the gas market. I think that such decision support systems as ECO are not only limited to electricity and gas. I can imagine that it could be very useful for colleagues from other industries like car insurance or broadband internet. I now wish you and the other two finalist teams all the best and a stimulating conference.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marty. I now invite all the presenters to come up to the stage and also the judges to go up. And this Q&A session will be 10 minutes.
Okay.
Is this on? Good. Outstanding presentation. And clearly you've made a wonderful impact. I have a couple of questions. And I'm not going to try to make it too hard, but I am curious because in your field test, the traditional method was losing money, right? Consistently losing money. And so how do you stay in business prior to this if every customer is losing you €15 or €5 or whatever, when your acquisition costs keep generating a negative return? That was the first question that popped in my head.
we come from monopoly, and we have regional customers. There are old customers. We don't acquire in region new customers. That's why we can survive. But it's very important to get this acquisition costs lower to survive for a long term. At the moment, it's okay, but in the future, we will get the problems if we don't have such decision support systems.
And usually the energy providers increase the prices after 1 year, and most of the energy providers did not expect that the customers would leave so soon. Yeah, that's why some of the energy providers went bankrupt because of this strategy.
Okay, I looked at your margin equation that you had. So the first one was the sales margin, and then you have the probability of being active and all the lifetime calculation. So one of the questions that I have is, when you're doing the field test on one cycle and then determine whether you made profit compared to the benchmark, you are essentially using the first term of that margin basically to make that conclusion. My question is, based on the acquisition strategy that you're using now, how would those probability of being active customer change? Would there be any danger of being focusing on maybe more deal-prone customers using your strategy where you probably give more bonuses, and as a result, the next year you probably don't make as much profit? So could you give some intuition as to what's going on in that part of that margin equation?
Yeah, I think this addresses one of the key problems that most companies in this market face: the estimation of the customer lifetime length or the churn probabilities. So based on the data that Entega already has, we estimate a function for the customer lifetime length per se, as well as the relationship to the bonus levels at which these customers were acquired. So the current optimization and margin calculation considers the relationship between the attractivity of the rank or the bonuses as well as the churn probability. So but it's still not a lot of data available to assess this, because let's say Entega is in the online market only since about 2010, 2011. So the function looks pretty stable, but there is still lots of uncertainty with respect to this estimation. I think this is fair to say.
I have one more question, which I hope isn't too hard, but your presentation, you started off saying 69% go to the first two ranks. And the way I understand it, the targeted rank initially was 15, and you're coming in still a big number. And with the big decay, that curve was approaching zero pretty quickly once you hit about 6, and you were way above 6 most of the time. It seems like you're not going for a very big share of the German market. And I'm wondering, how does this balance out? Because usually there's operating leverage. If you were a car company and you did that, you wouldn't be in business. So I'm just trying to understand how you can do that in the electricity market.
Okay, it rapidly goes down, that's true, but it's still better to make some profit at lower sales levels than losses at the first ranks. But I think the main problem in this market is really the rapid changes between price levels and cost levels. So currently, I think in the last month, we were on average going for rank 8 or 9. So even for the same company, due to changes in the sourcing costs or the competition and the filters set by the price comparison sites, it can rapidly change. So with the same optimization procedure, at the moment we're at rank 8, or Entegas at rank 8, and a year ago we were at rank 15 or so, 19.
Okay, now another question that I have is, you're using data from price comparison sites. Typically, it's a very outcome of a strategic game between players, where players make different moves, trying to target certain ranks and so on and so forth. And my question to you is, how stable is the relationship that you have come up with? Now, assuming that if other players also start doing something like what you have done, how sustainable is this particular decision support system for longer run?
Okay, that's a good question. Actually, I've prepared a few slides for that, if we can go back to that, because it's a topic that you could really discuss for a long period of time. I don't know if I can come back to the slides. But the thing is that there is a huge change if you look between 2 months. So if you have a time span, let's say 40 days, almost nothing is the same on the price comparison side. However, if you look at it in 2 hours, there is no change. In a day, maybe there is one change. In 2 weeks, moderate changes still. So the thing is, there are not a lot of direct responses in the short term. So the model should actually be used for a period of about 2 to 4 weeks, not longer, because then the market situation rapidly changes. The competitors cannot directly respond to changes in ranks usually because the tariff the customer looks for is valid for about 2 weeks. So if he prints the offer, he can still call 2 weeks later and ask for that price. So you cannot change your prices at the hour level, for instance. Just to show you a few outputs, here's the price comparison site outputs for the first 10 ranks in the first 2 hours. There's a change a day later. The second day it's the same. Then over the weeks, there are a few changes, but partly going back. So over a longer period of time, you've definitely got to respond to that. And I think that really still kills lots of the providers on the market, that they even can't get to that. We more systematically analyzed this also, and over a period of 12 consecutive weeks, and you can see that the number of providers on the different ranks increases for the higher ranks. So at the top ranks, there are only a few providers who also defend these ranks. So if you go for rank 2, it's very likely that someone slashes back and you're back on rank 3. So if you want to go to the absolute top ranks, and I think if Entegas is improving its cost structure, this could be the case in a few regions, then these best response considerations should be incorporated in the model. But I think at the moment it's still quite okay.
So given that, how transportable is this model to other situations? You talked about in the presentation that this could be used in insurance and other type of situations. So my question is, how transportable is this model to other settings?
Let me jump in with that one, because that was going to be my question too. I see this is a low involvement product in most countries, and I don't want to suggest I understand the German market, but I'm going to assume the energy market is a buy and don't think about it market. Whereas other markets where your phone service or whatever, they have a lot of attachments, your life depends on it, or price comparison sites are all online right now for any product you buy, yet people don't tend to buy the lowest priced product there because they have a service element and differentiated characteristics. Right. So when we think transportability, even in insurance, I wouldn't just go with the lowest price, because when I have an accident, I want my car repaired. Whereas the only thing I think of in energy is if my lines go down, I want it to be repaired. And I'm assuming that you're using the same lines for everything. So unless there's lots and lots of wires going across Germany for electricity. So how applicable is this as a transportable market outside of the energy sector?
Yeah. Outside the energy sector was a good point, because Entegas now wants to use it for their gas business, of course, as we've heard. But I think for markets where brand is not so important, or service levels, I think this could really be important. The price comparison sites for the electricity markets, I think they are doing a pretty good job because they lower the transaction costs for the customers. As you can fill out this form online and the providers do the job for you, you're done in around 20 minutes. And you can save like 100, 200, 300, 400 euros a year. So the involvement and the emotional situation is pretty strong in Germany because of these drastic price increases. So it's important, but brand is not so relevant there because there are thousands of providers, and you usually switch away from the former monopolist, who is the only one who is actually a brand. So I think it's applicable to markets where you have utilities, or where brand is not so important, or where you have access to brand sales relationships, which we did not have to incorporate these effects. Judy, you want to add something?
We can stop here. And if there is any one or two questions from the audience, they can do it, but it's not being recorded now. So, are there any questions from the audience, the teams?
I was wondering if you saw any relationship between the bonus and churn. Essentially, if you offer a higher bonus, if that creates higher churn, idea that customers looking for more of a deal would be more likely to switch.
Yeah, we see a relationship between bonus and churn, and we also try to incorporate this or consider this by considering the retention rates. So as soon as we see that someone buys or purchases a contract with a very high bonus, we expect a higher churn or a lower retention rate.
Based on the data that we have so far, we estimated this relationship and incorporated it in the lifetime estimation.
One last one. Yeah.
Hi, this goes back to the sustainability question. Typically, for most models, especially around marketing, you have to refresh the models, at least every 18 months, if not sooner. I mean, how frequently do you think you'll have to go back and revisit and refresh the model?
Actually, the relationship between rank and market share or shares of the individual ranks, that's astonishingly stable. And of course, the price comparison site filter everything other out. So the filters at the price comparison site are relevant, but still the relationship between ranks and market shares is incredibly stable, and we've seen this extremely surprising high holdout sample performance. So we have to adapt the model for upcoming obfuscation strategies like new types of bonuses or promoting the first some providers specifically in addition to the ranks. That needs to be incorporated, and there are quite a few things going on at the moment in this direction. But the model itself, I think the most important part is the overall online sales volume V, which is very difficult because also the information policy in the newspapers, etc., influences the switching intention. But I think the model itself, apart from the parameters with regard to the retention and volume that's on the market, it's pretty stable.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.